many people are really aware that literally within my lifetime, computers became a thing in people's lives. Literally, I was a teenager before I saw my first computers in school. You may not think this is true, but when I was a child, it was so unusual for there to be cars on the roads of a lot of suburbs on an ongoing and regular basis like you see today, that I literally was run over by a car because nobody knew how to deal with that fact. Now, I'm not as old as you might think. I'm not even 60 years old, yet I can tell you these things. Smartphones were not a thing. CDs were not a thing. Cassette tapes, yeah, okay. Actually, I don't even think they really existed when I was really young, but as I got to be a little bit older, they started to be a thing, right? Before that, it was vinyl. You listened on a record player or whatever. And even that was relatively new. But I want to talk today about the idea of stealing the future on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Saturday, the 18th of December of 2021. Welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube. Thank you for coming along today. Remember that Rumble is my preferred platform, and again, we're going to talk on the subject of stealing the future, and you might wonder what all I just said has to do with this idea of stealing the future that I wanted to bring forward today. Well, let me go through my notes and see if it will kind of help you to understand what it is I'm talking about. It hasn't been too long ago that people's choices with regard to what they ate, how they dressed, or the quality of the building materials used to construct their houses were exceptionally limited. That was the case even with people being generally industrious. Had it not been for a bunch of ingenious folks, some well recognized, some not so much, we wouldn't have much of the stuff we have today. The computer I do my videos on wasn't anything like my first choice, yet it's more than up to the task. That's true because a bunch of folks did amazing work to make it the case. What does this have to do with stealing the future? Bear with me as I explain. There are people out there today convinced that they can sit on their collective cans and let others do the work that makes their world the place they find today. Or, what they want for the future, I'll say as well. When I say a bunch of folks who work for what you're able to use or obtain went unrecognized for their effort, I'm not being flippant or facetious. The fact is, that baker, or drywall manufacturer, or computer maker, or chip designer, or dare I say it, software developer, those of you who know me know that's what I do. That's why I say dare I say it, who did his or her job largely thanklessly, day after day, he or she made your world possible. After all, when was the last time you saw a sweater make itself? How about a house? Or, again, a loaf of bread even? A computer. When was the last time you saw any of these things make themselves? Hard-working individuals took the time to make these things available to you. When you see what things look like when you don't have these people doing what they do, to see what things look like when you don't have those people doing what they do. In a previous edition of the Daily Summation, I showed a side-by-side image of Havana, Cuba, before and after the Castro regime. The after is a nightmare. It's like a dystopian nightmare. It went from being a beautiful town to, yeah, I said it again, a nightmare. Then there's the comparison between North and South Korea at night. One lit up, the other more or less dark. North being dark and being in a society where they don't have the sort of industriousness of and ingenuity of the type that they do in South Korea, as an example. And we don't even have to go outside the U.S. to see this. Just take a gander at modern-day Detroit. Don't think you're contributing to the theft of the future when you fail at productivity? And for that matter, ingenuity. Maybe you should pay attention to a few places in the world and how they got where they are. Are you stealing the future? I hope the answer for my viewers is a resounding no. Here's what I need for you to understand. Havana wasn't just there one day. That's not how that works. Havana came into existence through the work of a lot of people. Detroit was the result of a bunch of industrious, high-minded individuals who did a bunch of work to make the world a better place. The same is true for South Korea. The difference between South Korea and the rest is that North Korea was a formerly beleaguered part of the world that was in contention between China and people in Korea and others in Korea and the United States and its allies. And China probably had allies as well, maybe Russians and others, I don't know. I could argue all kinds of things where that's concerned. But the point is, North Korea was where something basically got leveled and just never really got rebuilt. Havana was a place that was a teeming, thriving metropolis of a place by comparison to what it is today, that was beautiful and fantastic, that people liked to go to, wanted to be there, and it became a place where it wasn't worth anything. Detroit was an industrial powerhouse of a city, and yet probably still had areas that were wonderful to be in and to go to, where people could have good times as well. And now it's a bunch of hulks of burned out or abandoned buildings. New York City is falling into this same sort of disrepair that you see in Detroit, and there are arguments that people are doing this on purpose. Here's my point, though. When you don't contribute to what happens to keep the place where you live a good place, it falls apart. Everything falls apart. This is not some magical thing, people. It's not hard to understand. Part of it is hard work. Part of it is ingenuity. Part of it is industriousness, right? It's people going to work every day when they don't want to. Why? Because they want bread on the shelves. Because they want the things that are coming into port to be offloaded. Because they want houses that people want to live in. Because they want neighborhoods that are not full of trash. This is why. Okay? If you are not willing to take the time to be a part, not all of, a part of that process that makes a society a better place, then you won't have one. And even if you had one, it'll begin to slide backwards in ways that you'll look at and go, wow, what happened here? And you'll be looking at Detroit. You'll be looking at Havana. Okay? So many other places. So many other places this is true for. There are parts of Africa that were colonized, whatever you want to say, and those areas became, at least partially became places like Kinshasa or whatever, where there were large booming towns, right? And if you look at a lot of those places now, you'll see that they're falling back into disrepair because, like it or not, the colonizers, like in India, actually took the time to make things better. Now, it turns out the Indians are moving in better, the people of India are moving in better directions, and that they're starting to look like they're going to be one of those places that people are going to be happy to be, if you're not careful. I had a boss years ago who said something, and it's stayed with me for literally more than 25 years now. He said, most of the people of America couldn't hack it, wouldn't be able to stomach India. They just wouldn't, because of how it is, sewage in the streets and various things. Now, I'm sure it's gotten a lot better since then, and I'm not saying it hasn't. But what I'm saying is that if it's gotten better as a result of people who've decided stealing the future is a bad plan. This is what you need to understand. It isn't that the Indian people couldn't do good. It isn't that the people of Africa can't do good. It's that people make decisions to not forward things that were actually making the world a better place, and they stop. And you end up, like I say, with places in South America like Venezuela, where things are constantly in a downward spiral because the people who were doing the things that were good things aren't anymore. And the result of that is that the future is being stolen for those people. Now, don't get me wrong. I believe that it absolutely we can reverse course on that. And that's part of the reason that I'm bringing this up today, is I want you to understand that we can and must reverse course. Okay. I need to go ahead and wrap things up. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Saturday, the 18th of December of 2021, that day of the Sabbath for those who observe it. So sundown today will be the end, though you may not be able to tell in my area because it's raining. Tomorrow then will be Sunday, the beginning of the Christian week, the 19th of December of 2021. We're moving ever closer to Christmas, as I say, and towards that end of the year, towards the new year coming on, which I hope will be better than this year has been, though this year for me has not been, I think, as terrible as it has been for many people. Thank you for everybody who's been here on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube. Thank you for coming along today. Remember, Rumble is my preferred platform. You can give me a boxing glove. That's a Rumble, or you can give me a plus or positive feedback, or a minus or a negative feedback on Rumble if you feel I'm doing a good job, or if you don't. You can give me a thumbs up on YouTube, or a like, or a thumbs down also on YouTube, or a dislike if you either like my content or don't. Again, if I put my content somewhere, remember that if there are comments available on that platform, you can comment on that platform, and I'll do the best to look at it and make sure that I'm paying attention to what you're saying, and if I feel it's reasonable, respond. The subject for today has been stealing the future, and tomorrow we're going to talk about what I title it hate and non-support, and I want to distinguish between those two things because I think the distinction is pretty important. Hope you're doing well today. Hope everything is going well for you as usual, and hopefully we will see you again on Sunday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Saturday, the 18th of December of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that, and you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.